Alec Baldwin not taking any responsibility for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins after accidentally shooting her on a movie set. Baldwin continues to insist he didn't even pull the trigger and is even pinning blame on the victim.
Everything is in her direction. She's guiding me through how she wants me to hold the gun for this angle.
Well, there are some who say you're never supposed to point a gun at anyone on a set, no matter what.
Unless the person is the cinematographer who's directing me where to point the gun for her camera angle. I cock the gun, I go, can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? And she says, and then I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off.
Do you feel guilt?
No, no. I feel that there is, I feel that someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
I hated everything about that interview, Dagan, and one of the things I really dislike about it is that I'll just speak for myself, but I felt very empathetic towards him and defended him and thought, wow, this is so terrible. And then to watch him a month later basically disassemble everything that we witnessed with our own eyes and that we knew, and trying to convince us that he has nothing to do with it is pitiful.
He tried to act like the victim. Alec Baldwin is not the victim, and he clearly didn't do that interview to make Helena Hutchins' family feel better. He did it to burnish his reputation and put a shine on his image, maybe get ahead of the future legal wrangling over her death. I didn't think he could possibly come across like a bigger narcissist or a bigger egomaniacal monster. The man who called his daughter a pig when she was young on a voicemail message, the rage machine, but somehow he did. But Hollywood is watching this, reading the comments on social media about it is very telling. Yeah. He is a festering boil on the neck of Hollywood, and he will be lanced at some point, figuratively, in the very near future. I don't see how he has a career after this.
He indicated that, Jessica, he basically said, well, maybe my career is over. But he's at the same time blaming the cinematographer, who was the very woman who got shot and died.
And at the same time said that when he saw her husband, that they embraced and talked about how they're both going through something, and that he made sure to say, well, what you're going through is worse. Yeah, yes, yeah. You lost your wife, and your son has no mother anymore. Yeah. I found it all very strange. We talked yesterday about doing this as a dramatic interview was a mistake because it undoes any of the emotions that we thought that he was having after the event. You know, he had just put out a very short Twitter statement a couple of days later that just said, absolutely in shock, destroyed over this. And he's clearly courting public opinion now because he said in the interview that he's been assured that he's not going to be charged with anything. No one is going to like that interview. I doubt if he watched it back, he would even like that interview. And I don't know if he just got ahead of his skis, out over his skis, whatever the saying is, and just went with it because he was feeling powerful at that moment because he was back on TV and he was being interviewed by someone powerful, but it does not read well.
So I don't know about that nobody will like the interview. I was listening to NPR this morning, Jesse, before I came to work, and it was 5:45 in the morning, in case anyone wants to check. And there's a reporter telling his audience what happened on the interview, and at the end, he tells the host, I believe this was a masterclass in how to answer a lot of questions, to protect yourself, but not to advance a story. I mean, it was basically like saying, wow, what a great job Alec Baldwin did.
I'm getting texts from family members, not my mother, conservative family members, who think that Alec was the real deal. He was genuinely upset. Wow. And I don't see it that way. I see him acting as a lawyer instead of a human being. He probably should have just cried for an hour and said, I'm sorry for an hour, instead of getting up there like he was testifying under cross. It made no sense a few times when he said, well, I never checked the gun to see if it's hot. And then he says he stays up at night because he can't sleep. He's always thinking about what he could have done differently. Well, he could have checked the gun. Because that's what Clooney said. Clooney came out and said, we always check the gun to see if it's hot. And Stephanopoulos hit him with the Clooney line and goes, oh, good for him. Good for him. That was not the right thing to say. And then to say he acted like he never heard anything was wrong on the set. People were walking off because there was an accidental discharge. People were walking off because of bad conditions. Go ahead.
We have this part of the interview. This is quite unbelievable what he said happened immediately afterwards.
She goes down. I thought to myself, did she faint? The notion that there was a live round in that gun did not dawn on me till probably 45 minutes to an hour later.
I mean, that's obviously checkable.
Yes, but also, I mean, as we're listening to this, we're going like, what the hell? Who made the decision about the music?
Yeah.
As if that music is necessary to tell this story, and it tells you the obvious thing that this isn't journalism, it's choreography.
Yep.
It's been a month, right? 30 days. That's not journalism. He came, this has been fabricated or manufactured with the help of ABC and George Stephanopoulos. The music, the tension, everything there is designed to help him out. The argument itself, if it actually, it takes hold in the public consciousness, how many people are going to use this? Like, the gun went off, the gun went off, the gun went off, and everybody knows that's impossible. It's impossible. If this could have been, I hate to use the phrase, a teachable moment on gun safety. Instead, it's like completely the opposite. This is like, it's like, I didn't point, I pointed the gun and it just went off. It's just like, this is impossible. It's impossible, but that's Baldwin's defense. And if it actually becomes commonplace, then you will see more and more and more. Again, I go back to, I've said this a million times. If they hadn't demonized the NRA could have been on these sets. You could have benefited from the instruction and the supervision, but instead you demonized a group that probably could have saved that person's life, but instead it's just more important to be politically correct than it is to be safe.
You're right about, we'll see if anybody comes up with the Alec Baldwin defense.
Yes.
It will be
Can
called.
I add, though, to your point, Maureen Callahan in the New York Post today, she was interviewing a gun safety expert from the movies and said, and raised the issue of why didn't George Stephanopoulos just simply ask him, if you had to put that gun to your head, would you have checked it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh,
but
great
again,
question.
This was a layup, and it was a show, just like his wife and his fake Spanish wife, Eladia, and the show they put on in Vermont after, well, he killed the DP on his film.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.